Hello and welcome to another episode of Mysteries of the Bayou. I'm Roy.
And I'm Scarlett.
We got a couple great cases to bring you today. The first one we're going to talk about is again out of New Iberia. It is a Mr. Terry Delahoussaye. He was nicknamed Sniff, and on December 5th, 2015, he was found deceased in his car at the age of 62, and upon further investigation, the police found that he had been shot in the head. And the way I read this, it was like the driver's side door may have been locked, but the passenger door was open. Is that kind of what you got?
Yeah, that's what I read. We were able to get a police report, and some of the details are a little sparse, but that was definitely laid out for us.
Okay. Yeah, so the other thing, I think this was his birthday or right around his birthday. They had been out that night having a celebration. They had been over at the Seafood Connection. And then after the party broke up, he left and was later found in the 300 block of Field Street. Now, they say that once he left the Seafood Connection after the celebration, that he did have cash and jewelry on him that were not found after the police found his body. Now, the other thing that was a little bit strange is that the way that the police report and the way that some other reports talk about this, it was almost like his car was still in the middle of the road running when they found him, and somebody called in and said, hey, there's a guy slumped over in the car, and the police came out, of course, found that he had been shot. So it's almost like he either stopped in the street for somebody he knew, or some people stopped him, in order to rob him. But yeah, that was it's terrible. At 62, he had, my understanding, worked at the same company for about 30 years. So he sounds like a stable individual, and just happened to run into some gun violence, probably, like I said, it sounds like probably for robbery, if the cash and jewelry really were not found on his person.
Yeah.
Did you have any other details?
No, it's just, it's super tragic. This man seemed like a lovely person, and it was just so sad. It was, his 62nd birthday. He was out celebrating, and that this happened to him, and, that his family still doesn't, unfortunately, have any answers. This is still an ongoing investigation.
Yeah, and if we can backtrack on our time, I know we talked a little bit about this in our last episode. We had another person out of New Iberia, but at this time frame, he was found December 5th, 2015. If my math is right, this is at a point when the New Iberia Police Department had been disbanded. And so I think that was from 2004 to 2018. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. So this is a point when the New Iberia Police Department had been disbanded, and so the Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office is the one that's been handling the investigation. And of course, while we did get a police report that had minimal details, of the do cite this as being an ongoing investigation, is why they could not provide us more details. But there seemed to be quite a few unsolved homicides during this time period. And even though that after 2018, the New Iberia Police Department has been reinstated and is up and running again, these investigations that happened during this time period still remain with the Sheriff's Office. So that is, unless you have something else to add, that is really all. Again, this is one of those. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sure that certain information is obviously as is being withheld because it is ongoing. I would like to know, maybe if the car was fingerprinted, if any neighbors were questioned, if they had seen anything that were on that block, all of these kind of, basic things. But again, there's
Right.
most likely a lot of this information is probably being withheld.
Yeah, and it's also, was this on his way home?
Sure.
You're more familiar with the area, so I don't know if Field is close to the seafood connection, but was this on his way home? Did he go over there for a reason? Just a lot of questions like that still remain. And the other thing is, like, again, just want to reiterate, this is exactly why we started the podcast, is because people like Mr. Delahoussaye, they just have not gotten a lot of coverage. Now, I'm not faulting law enforcement that maybe they didn't have a lot to go on with the
Sure.
clues or, during the investigation, turning stuff up, but there just hasn't been a lot of media coverage. And so, it just makes you wonder really what has happened since the time of his death. And anyway, we just want to be sure, put all of this out there on the off chance that maybe somebody will come forward. Either they may have been on this block at that time, they may have seen him leaving the seafood connection, because we don't know, maybe somebody jumped in the car with him when he got in the parking lot and forced him to drive over there till they finally got what they wanted. Those are the things that I think a lot of times as witnesses we don't realize the power of the information that we may have, where we may not have seen the actual crime committed, but we may have seen some things that led up to it that would be very helpful to law enforcement. So again, if anybody knows anything, please contact the Iberia Parish Sheriff's Department with anything. All right, anything else before we move on?
Nope. Moving along.
All right, we'll talk about, next we're going to talk about Teresa Marie Wren Gilcrease. I do apologize for the jets flying over, the sound of freedom. We love it. We live not far from an Air Force base and also a Lockheed plant, so they're always sometimes flying and testing. Every now and then we do get a little treetop buzz come through. So if you hear it, that's what it is. But
just insert the Top Gun soundtrack. That'll be our theme music.
Yeah, right. I was just actually reciting a line from that show. That show happened, I don't know, 30 something years ago now, but still reciting a line from. Oh, I know what it was. I was telling somebody the other day, do you have that number for that truck driving school? Anyway, so yeah, this is Teresa Marie Wren Gilcrease. She was actually found in Rapides Parish, Louisiana, which is the Alexandria area. But Mrs. Gilchrist, born on February 14th, 1958. She was found in 2002, so she would have been around 44 at the time of her death. She was a native of Boyce. Just again, let me just kind of drop back for a little bit on, before we move too much further off of Terry Delahoussaye. First off, we did reach out to the Iberia Sheriff's Parish Department to see if they would provide somebody to come on and talk to us. They declined. And we also did look for some relatives of Mr. Delahoussaye and were unable to make contact with them. So as we go through these cases, if you know of relatives, we would still like to talk to them to get clarity, and we would even record another episode, kind of a follow-up with a family member, or just whatever information we could gain. So please always keep that in mind if you know of any information personally, or if you know somebody connected with the family. It would be awesome for you to pass this information along to them and just let them know we would still like to talk to them. And the reason I brought that up is because I had on Miss Gilcrease, I had reached out to her sister who still lives in the area, and I had also extended an invitation to the Rapides Parish Sheriff's Office to provide somebody, and they declined. So anyway, she was about 44 at the time of her death. She's a native of Boyce, and she was living in Baker City, Oregon at the time. She had returned to Alexandria to attend her daughter's high school graduation. So I don't know if you have any more details leading up to that.
Yeah, and then, you know, we do know that her, I guess she had moved or relocated to Oregon because her husband was a pharmacist and got a job out there. And it looks like Teresa was maybe a social worker. She got her master's in social work at LSU. So again, just, you know, everyday working professional.
Yeah. So she was last seen on June 10th, 2002. She was leaving the Stick Pool and Billiards, which is on MacArthur Drive there in Alexandria. She was last seen about 1:30 a.m. with an unknown male. And there's actually a composite that we will provide. It's on the it's been in the newspapers and maybe on the internet. You can find it, but there was some people that saw him. And what's odd is that I don't think that there were over 50 people that were interviewed that were in or around this stick at that time of night. That, you know, still hasn't really provided enough answers. As we go through this, you know, you'll see that there have been some movement in the investigation, but just nothing concrete enough to bring somebody to trial. She had a rental car, which she had flown into Dallas and then took a rental car, and it was found in the bar's parking lot. And her body was actually found by a farm worker at 132 Jenkins Road, or I think it's also called Sand and Gravel, there in Alexandria, east of Highway 167, pretty close to the campus of LSU Alexandria. She had been stabbed at least 5 times and run over by a vehicle, and the family feels that one of the people that have been interviewed is the actual killer. But again, not enough evidence. This 132 Jenkins, if you look it up, it's still a fairly rural, or it is rural part of the county. So there wasn't a lot of, probably, you know, after 1:30 in the morning, there probably wasn't a lot of traffic on this road. And I don't think there were any houses or other establishments close that somebody would have seen something. Also, not only was she stabbed 5 times, but she was run over by vehicles. So again, not a lot of details in, you know, if it was a high speed or something at lower speed, but could be some damage to the vehicle. So if you know somebody that back at this time frame that had damage that was unexplainable, or, you know, if you worked in a body shop and fixed somebody's car, you know, those are all things that would be very helpful, you know, to come forward. So they're because they don't have the vehicle, there was no DNA that was left at the scene. They have conducted numerous lineups throughout time. Like I said, the family feels that there was a person who was interviewed that was responsible. And the 2003 Associated Press article report, you know, there were over 50 suspects in her death, including a Louisiana state trooper. And this particular trooper, another Associated Press article, also said that this trooper was cleared of serial killing of 5 young women in Southwest Louisiana, which started in about 2001.
That part was interesting as well, because Todd Lee was a serial killer that many people were familiar with. He was active from 1992 to 2003. So that certainly would have been on everyone's mind, you know, as a possibility. So I think that was kind of an interesting overlay.
Right. Yeah, The other thing that was kind of strange that I found, it wasn't mentioned everywhere, but I'm trying to get down here to in my notes that this state trooper may have been a nephew of the sheriff at the time of Rapides Parish. I don't have anything that really corroborated that. I saw it in one place, so again, not for sure. Just trying to report what we have uncovered. Mrs. Gilcrease's sister believes again that the suspect was interviewed about a year after her killing, and then it said that the sheriff's department had spoken with her father again in 2013 about a suspect, and that was about the time it was featured on through the Crime Stoppers. So I'm not sure if that was related. Maybe a tip came through Crime Stoppers that put them onto somebody else. And of course, her sister described her as a loving mother, sister, great granddaughter, and a great daughter. And that was, part of the family, was part of the reason that she came back. Like you said, her and her husband had recently moved to Oregon, but she came back to Alexandria to go to her daughter's high school graduation. And I think she decided to stay around for a little bit. She didn't go just fly in and then immediately home. So she was, kind of hanging around the area some. And it's just sad that, somebody going out to have some fun one evening, and this happens to them. She
Yeah.
had been, one more thing I was just gonna mention, that she had been staying at she'd been staying with her parents in their Boyce home, and she had spent a few days there at an Alexandria hotel as well. So.
Yeah, I guess what's interesting also about, this case, it was 2002, and I think we had talked a little bit pre-show, if it was possible that, any surveillance footage within the bar, on the streets, gas station, banks. I know it was early in the morning at 1:30 a.m., but maybe there was some sort of kind of surrounding footage that caught the vehicle or caught her getting in the vehicle, just something that kind of tracked her movement.
Yeah, I didn't see anything that had to do with video, and I know that it's become a lot more prevalent nowadays than it was back then. But like you said, ATMs have had cameras for years, and then also gas stations and things like that. So I'm not sure what kind of an effort, like I said, they at one time had a pool of 50 suspects. So I guess maybe they thought they had all they needed. And, then, because the other thing that was a lot more prevalent in the early 2000s versus today is the storage of video. Compact, we have bigger and better storage devices, but a lot of times back in those days, they may be running on a 24-hour loop. So if somebody didn't get to that tape within a certain time period, it would have been recorded over and moved on. Where now, I think a lot of these businesses and public cameras, whatever, I think they do a lot better job at storing for longer periods of time, just because of the advancements in technology.
Yes, certainly. And and then the other thing, it's unfortunate that we don't have any information on the vehicle, and that there was no DNA at the crime scene. But I was wondering if we even know where she was run over on the road, if there was any track marks, was her body moved after it was hit, a lot of these kind of details.
Right. Yeah, no, and you would think, I assume that the 50 suspects were probably 50 people who were in this pool hall at the time and she walked out. And
Sure.
Unless this guy was a stranger in town that just happened to walk into the right place at the right time, you would expect that he would have acquaintances that were probably in there, you know, who he was with and playing pool with as well. So it, again,
Right.
maybe one of those people, conscience will finally get the better of them, and they'll come forward and, you know, provide some details. It's just hard for me to, you know, I've been to those places, and every now and then, you know, somebody off the street wanders in that doesn't really know anybody, but typically it's a place where friends go to, you know, maybe have a drink, shoot some pool, talk, and do things like that. So I would suspect strongly that somebody within this establishment knew who she left with.
Right. I would agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is, of course, that's all the details I have. Just kind of a recap. If you have any information on Terry Delahoussaye out of New Iberia, if you know anything about his death at all, please call the Iberia Sheriff's Department. If you know any of his family or friends that would be able to provide us more information on, you know, him as an individual, and also on the events that maybe led up to this evening, you know, please reach out to us. Our emails are roy@mysteriesofthebayou.com and scarlett@mysteriesofthebayou.com. We'd be glad to, you know, interact and have a chat and see what further information we could find. And again, on the second case, Teresa Marie Wren Gilcrease out of Rapides Parish, Alexandria was where she was last seen. So if you have any information on her, her investigation is with the Rapides Parish Sheriff's Office, and be sure and give them or Crime Stoppers a call and provide any information that you may have, or if you know family members or friends that could maybe provide more information on, you know, the events leading up to her death, you know, prior to that night. That would be great to have them reach out to us as well. So on our last episode, we, you know, we found made us a new friend there in Lafayette, Louisiana, the bookstore, the Soleil Bookstore. You want to tell us a little bit more about that, Scarlett?
Yeah. So if you haven't already, there's a great independent bookstore in downtown Lafayette. They're located on Jefferson Street. I recently went about a weekend ago and bought, you know, purchased a bunch of new books. They have a great French section. So if you are a Francophile and you like to read in French, or you know that the holidays are coming up and you need a gift, there's a great little kind of unique French book section, as well as a local section. So definitely go in and check it out, sit on one of their couches, enjoy reading and the atmosphere. It's great. Soleil Books, they're located on Jefferson Street in downtown Lafayette.
Yeah, and I posted on our last episode, you know, we talked a little bit about them, and I posted a picture of the books, their logo, and of course of their reading room. But it looks like an awesome place to go, sit down, pick your favorite book out, and you know, just kind of enjoy some relaxing time in their reading. Of course, I love books, and that's why I was so excited to that you found them, is because it's very difficult now with you know, a lot of bookstores closed down, and you know, even here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there's maybe one or two spread all over town. It's not like it used to be where they were all in the corner. So that's exciting. We wish them a lot of luck. And you know, one thing that we can do to help them succeed is to patronize them. You know, if you're in the area, of course, drop by the store, pick up your favorite title, or you know, look for something new. If you want to look through the crime genre, I think last time I was actually, I don't have it with me, we had a picture of the Louisiana sheriffs that have gone awry, but that's been a good read. So a bunch of good crime genres to pick from as well. But also, you can reach out to them online, and I'm pretty sure that they have a curb service. I think even if you know what you want, if you're in the area, you can call them. They'll bring it out to the car, and if not, you can order it online and have it shipped to you. So
Well, that's pretty
anyway,
great too. It's like fast food
yeah.
delivery for books. That's awesome. It's great.
Right. So anyway, give them a call. Like I said, we, if you are a new business in the Southwest Louisiana area, or new or old, it doesn't matter. What we want to do is, this show is kind of one way that we can give back. We're trying to give back to the victims and their families by publicizing these unsolved crimes of homicides, missing people. So we want to do that for them, try and get as much publication or as much, traction for them, putting it back out there, keeping it in front of people as we possibly can. But we also decided that, we'll try to give some of the local businesses plugs too. This has been a tough time on businesses of all kinds. So, if you have a business that you'd like for us to give you a short plug, please reach out to us on the website. And we've got limited space available, but we will certainly try to work everybody in at some point in time. All right, well, that's all I've got for today. I appreciate you looking into these with me, and I think we've got a couple more. I'm trying to remember. It's been a whirlwind of a week, but I'm trying to remember. I think next week we have another case out of Rapides Parish, and the other one is going to be out of Lafayette Parish itself there.
Yeah, and just a reminder, if you guys listen to us, please leave us a review. We would greatly appreciate it, so we continue what we're doing. We are on iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher, and I guess, Roy, we're also on, you could probably fill us in there where they can find us if they want to leave a review.
Yeah, the big ones, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, and I just got a notification this morning that Pandora finally got us approved and put us on there. So cool. Pandora, there's a couple more tune in, and to be honest, I can't even remember all the names of them now, but I did apply or send in the RSS feed for Amazon as well. So I think really most of the big providers should have us. If they don't, if you can't find us on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to write us an email, and we'd be glad to send it to them as well. You can always go to our website at www.mysteriesofthebayou.com. We upload the episodes. There's a player on there with a little bit more short synopsis of the cases that we're talking about, and then the dialogue, the transcript is there. It is a machine transcript, so not going to be perfect with my accent. It just can't hardly figure that out, so it does come out a little bit messed up, but you can go through there and read if you'd rather do that as well. All right, well, thanks a lot, everybody. Y'all have a good rest of y'all's week, and we look forward to seeing you next week with the other cases there out of Alexandria and Lafayette. Until next time, I'm Roy with Mysteries of the Bayou.
And I'm Scarlett. Take care.
Thanks.